Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster back here on this weekend, Saturday, September 16th, 2023. It is about 11:20 a.m. California time here. Latest activity shows a small microquake here across the Turkey area. We did see some movement kicking up here overnight. We'll go ahead and check this out here in just a minute. Do want to look at the sun, which has been quite active. This is the UV filter ray here on the sun. Notice quite a few M flares kicking off over the last 36 hours. Quite a few C flares as well. We also did see a filament eruption, Earth directed. That's going to be this area right here, which will show kind of a liftoff of the area of the sun, Earth directed. Watch right about here, it's coming up. And this is just a series of somewhat elevated activity. There it goes, Earth directed. Here in the last couple days, we've seen a slight uptick here in solar weather activity. Here's the latest information here from the solarham.net website. There's some of the flaring taking place here over the past couple days. Notice those large M flares kicking up here. I think the largest we've seen was about an M3.4 or so. Right there from 3429, one of the active regions there on the sun, which is still, let's go ahead and check it out. There it is from last night. The current imagery of the magnetogram does show a little bit of stabilization here, but still harbors some potential for some stronger flares. We'll continue to watch this area. Again, it did produce those three moderate M flares and also quite a few C flares in the last couple days, and the majority of those were Earth directed. So we'll watch for some potential elevated conditions there in the Space Weather Department as far as the aurora goes in the coming days. Also around the eastern limb here of the sun, we got a newer sunspot. Looks quite large. We'll have to watch this once it comes into a better perspective here on the Earth-facing side of the sun. Right now, looks like a 95% chance for a C flare, M flare at 55, X flare around 10% chance, and a proton event there around 15% chance as well due to the elevated energies out here across the visible disk of the sun. We'll watch that, of course. Right now, not a whole lot of significant changes here to the forecast. Still looks like there might be slight elevated conditions here as we head into tonight and tomorrow there with the KP index here stretching up around 4 to 5. All right, earthquake activity. Let's see what we got here over the last 24 hours. Did not get a chance to do an update last night. It was quite busy and quite tired by the time we did manage to find a little time to do stuff. It was just a crazy day yesterday. Southern California, what do we got? Anything major above 2.5? Let's go ahead and take a look at the map here. We did see a 2.8 earlier this morning just off the San Andreas Fault here, the plate boundary. Very close. Looks like that may be on the, well, it's a portion of the San Andreas Fault here. You got the plate boundary and a little bit of branches here of the San Andreas Fault. This is the San Bernardino Mountain section, the Mill Creek Fault, but it is along the San Andreas Fault zone. That's a 2.8. Also a little bit of activity in a swarming area out here in the just east of the San Andreas Fault here. This is an area that's seen a little bit of swarming here yesterday and in the past 30 days here. Notice this little separate swarming kicking up there in that area. And again, that's just on the North American side of the plate boundary. So just kind of watching that. It's been quite active here recently with a couple areas of interest right around the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. Got anything major going on further south? Doesn't look like it. Typical movement closer to the border. Los Angeles, quiet for now. Let's see, a little bit of activity across the creeping segment here of the San Andreas Fault. And as far as Northern California goes, well, let me check this Nevada earthquake out. 3.2 out in Nevada. That was from yesterday afternoon. A little bit of movement outside of Tonopah. Northern California, a little spotty up here. We do have one earthquake of interest. That's a 2.3, not a big earthquake, but its location and proximity here to the Cascadia subduction zone is of interest for sure. It is sitting right up there at the level, maybe just below the locked area or within it, that 2.3 at 23 kilometers deep. Continue to watch that for some potential further activity. The tremor map, let's check out the tremor map here from yesterday, see what we got. Still seeing some tremor, Northern California and also Oregon, so we are noticing some strain building up here, and some of that strain building up towards the Cascadia. Hence that movement that we've seen here earlier this morning. We'll check out the tremor map a little bit later this afternoon or this evening. Mount St. Helens, nothing showing up here as far as the graphs go. Of course, it is the weekend. Let's double check the Mount St. Helens seismograph station here, and we'll see what we have as far as activity or lack of activity around the Mount St. Helens area. Give me a second while I key this up. Just going to check this typical seismograph station up here, and then we'll check out that gas reading there around Mount St. Helens in just a second. So still a couple earthquakes out there, right? Obviously there is some, looks like some earthquake activity. Some of this could be rockfall. Let me see here what we got on this other seismograph station. I have to zoom in just a little bit closer. This one's offline. All right, let me check this one down here, see if we got any readings. It looks like there's a little bit of reading there on that seismograph station as well. Not quite as active as up at the crater area, but I still think there's still there's still microquake activity occurring up there across that area of Mount St. Helens, mostly up here around this region. The gas emissions, let's see what we got. Carbon dioxide looks fairly stable. Of course, wind speed too. You know, we can kind of see if there's increased wind speed up there. That may point out towards making some environmental noise on the seismograph stations there, but not super windy. Sulfur dioxide really hasn't peaked since that little bit of elevated spike there back in the beginning of this month, about the time we were still having some earthquake activity. Looks like things have tapered off for now. But again, we'll continue to watch that and report back on anything that may change up there. Yellowstone National Park, nothing going on, at least according to the USGS map. So we're going to go check that out real quick again, see what we got. A lot of times these little bitty swarms will be kicking up and nothing on the map. But for the most part, only a handful of smaller quakes here in the last few hours. These are probably well below 1.5 or so. Rest of the area looks pretty quiet across the Yellowstone region. All right, see what we got here for the rest of the country. One earthquake out in Missouri, a 2.7 right in the New Madrid seismic zone here. 11 kilometers deep, late last night. That's just a sign letting us know that it's still active out there. Looking at the Mediterranean area over here across Turkey, quite a few earthquakes overnight, including looks like some 4s kicking up there. See if USGS is reporting any of those. They got a 4.1 here, southern Greece, just in the Sea of Crete, that one 120 kilometers deep, and also some activity in Romania, 3.8. Both of these fairly deep earthquakes, and it looks like the EMSC model is reporting those as a 4.2 in Romania. So a little bit of a difference there on the magnitude of those earthquakes, but still a little bit of activity stirring up. Indian Ocean got a 5.4 out there in that divergent boundary. Notice that zipping effect out here. This is all a divergent boundary. And this is near the, looks like the Argo fracture zone. Let's check out historical data. Of course, this is going to be active with earthquakes. And as you can see, it does follow that line of earthquake activity out here. Probably 4 to... I don't know if we're going to... Probably won't see any major earthquakes out here. I think the largest these have been is occasional 6 or so. Most of that below that threshold. But it... a little bit active out there right now. 5.1. All right. Any further activity here across this area? Let's see what we got as we zoom in. Still waiting on some movement across New Zealand. Doesn't look like they've had any significant activity yet. Most of this movement here from yesterday that you're seeing on the map The latest one looks like a 4.9 in the Philippines area. Again, older activity from yesterday. There's that movement across the Kermadec Islands, 5.0. North of the North Island, New Zealand region here. Still wait for some movement, though, across this plate boundary. Let's go ahead and check out the GeoNet servers here real quick, see what we have. 4.4, looks like 4.4 showing up there on the map. See what we got going on. That was yesterday. Now, if that is indeed a 4.4, that's going to show up pretty nicely there in the South Island, right? Let me see what we got for the drums. Up north, a little bit of activity throughout the last 24 hours up here. We'll see smaller quakes as we work our way down south. I'm looking for that signature. There we go. Of that, I don't know if it was a 4.4 or not. But definitely a, it could be a 4. Potentially. I don't know why it's not showing up here on the globe. Let me see what we got here. Oh, it's kind of weird. The only thing I'm seeing is that 3.3 here from pretty recent. That showed up around north. Yeah. Looks like South Island area. But yeah, some movement. And according to the GeoNet servers here, 4.4 yesterday, coming up on about 24 hours or so. That's going to be the signature right here in the kind of the red signature on that graph. All right, folks, let's see what else we got as we zoom over here. I was just checking out a bunch of stuff with the didn't mean to close that one out. I was looking at the oceanic temperatures out here a lot yesterday and today, looking at our potential for that strong El Nino and kind of comparing that to certain years. Let me finish up the earthquake activity and we'll maybe jump into that here at the end of this update. Movement across Pahala, it looks like a 2.2, 32 kilometers deep. Kilauea volcano, I'm sure is still continuing. Let's double check that here from the HVO. And this update was put out yesterday, but as far as I know, the eruption is still continuing and is confined to the crater area of Kilauea Summit Caldera. No unusual activity there across the rift zones. And I think that's just going to continue for a little bit here across the Big Island. There is a look of the crater area. I don't see any huge fountains of lava kicking up here. Let me see what we got for a little bit closer inspection. There's another view. Definitely hot. It's got quite a bit of lava over it. But goodness, is this thing calming down already? Let me check this out. Or did we check out B2 Cam? That was not quite active. There's one of the vents there. A little bit less active. I think this will come and go. Of course, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning over there. Saturday morning in the Big Island. These aren't quite as active as what I seen yesterday. So slight tapering down. It may fluctuate slightly with certain surges down there of the magma finding its way to the surface. But either way, obviously, the eruption is still continuing across the Big Island of Hawaii at Kilauea Volcano. Up here into the Alaska region, well, looks like a typical day. Not a whole lot of movement out there. Just some microquake movement. And 3.2 up around the Arctic Village. Way up north here around the Brooks Range. That's one area I never got to visit. A couple years ago, flew into Anchorage and drove up to Fairbanks. It's beautiful scenery in the wintertime, too. Ice-covered roads. Definitely a little scary, but there was a lot less traffic on the road in the wintertime. But I would love to see up here. It'd be awesome to visit this region. Kind of like an Arctic desert. All right, what else we got? Anything major going on here across the South Sandwich Trench? Looks like a 5.0 earlier this morning. This area has seen a handful of quakes bouncing back and forth here over the last week. Show you guys the map. Looks like it's just starting to fill in across the almost the entire subduction zone here. So we'll continue to watch that. Obviously, there's some strain building up in that region. Puerto Rico area, a handful of smaller quakes, a couple up here around the Puerto Rico Trench as well. Aside from that, looks like it's going to be a beautiful weekend here, depending on where you're at. Let me check out the Storm Prediction Center here, see what we got. No major severe weather threats out here. A little bit of thunderstorm activity in Northern California. A marginal risk here of severe weather. Less than 2% chance of tornado probability. Looks like this is just going to be some low-grade threat for a little bit of wind and some hail. Not really expecting anything major, though. And a look at the National Hurricane Center. Let's check out Lee real quick as well, as that is now a post-tropical cyclone, or the remnants of it. Let's see what we got here currently. There is going to be some wind, right, with this. It looks like there's still tropical storm warnings here across Maine, New Brunswick area, and Nova Scotia region. Looks like that's going to be happening here today. Of course, I didn't cover this last night, but things definitely have progressed. All right, Missy Mimi sent me a message, so I had to respond to her real quick. Maximum sustained winds right now about 70 miles per hour. Again, tropical storm force winds expected across this area today. Let's see what we got here for the radar imagery in this area. I think we're probably getting quite a bit of rain over here right now. There it is, spinning. Nova Scotia region looks like it may get the brunt of the wind, so to speak. This is always the strongest area across the eastern segment of the tropical system, which again is now just kind of degrading rapidly. Weather radar up here in this area. Looks like quite a bit of rain wrapping around the backside in the Maine, Bangor area. This area is always green, so these guys get some good storms in the summer and good storms in the winter. Might be the place to hang out. New Brunswick area also getting in on quite a bit of rainfall. Here's the current wind gust out here. Now offshore it's going to be a little bit heavier. It looks like 70 miles per hour, maybe a little bit stronger gust, 81 miles per hour or so offshore. But either way, it's probably going to be not a good day to be out there. It's, as far as the afternoon stroll goes. But some rain coming in, it looks like. All right, yeah, so I was just looking at this El Nino pattern here. This is the current imagery, and I was kind of looking at these little cycles. This is August. Still showing strengthening of the oceanic temperatures out here in the Pacific and across the equator area, and indicating that El Nino pattern. And where'd that one page go? I lost. I may have closed it out. But I was comparing this to 1997. Now, 1997 El Nino is pretty strong. That's kind of like one of our stronger El Ninos. 97, 98 year, right? Pretty strong. And the only difference that I'm seeing here is that in that strong 97 El Nino, the waters off the coast here into the Pacific, eastern Pacific, were not this warm at all. We did have the strong sea surface temperatures here across this region, but this area up here was much cooler. Not blue, but it was kind of neutral color. And this El Nino that's coming up is strengthening with even warmer temperatures out here across the eastern Pacific compared to 97. So what that means, I guess we'll have to see how this winter plays out. I don't know if that's going to add to the strengthening of storms, or this may divert the storms somewhere else. I don't know. It's really weird. I think 2015, 2016 El Nino had a similar type setup. Strengthening down here, and also a little bit warmer temperatures up here. And that was kind of a wet year for us back then too, the El Nino. And then the following year, that was when the Oroville Dam had some issues up there with all the flooding and water. That was 2016, 2017. I believe. So anyway, I'll cover this a little bit later, maybe in a separate updated video. But either way, I think this El Nino is going to be a strong one. And they did, let's see, let me go back here. This little article was put out just 2 days ago. There's, of course, the odds that it will last through winter are now at higher than 95% chance. So, and the chance of a strong event is now above 70. Originally, this was like about 20 to 30. And just in a month or so time period, this has gone up for it being a strong El Nino. So it's something I like to look at, something I like to pay attention to. These guys is 3-month outlooks here. Occasionally are wrong, occasionally they're correct. This is what they're stating for November, December, and January of next January 2024. But the remainder of this year, this winter, temperature is going to be above normal out here. Of course, La Nina would bring in some colder environment, but El Nino warmer in the wintertime. And of course, the Pacific Northwest always, for the most part, gets less rainfall in the El Nino patterns. But down here in California, we get some wetter conditions out here. So this could be good news continuing here for the West Coast, and a lot more above precipitation out here across portions of the South and Eastern or Southeast as well. So that's good news and equal chances here. So we'll continue to watch that as we head into the wintertime. Again, each El Nino is not the same as years past. We just kind of compare the strengths of certain years and see how you know, it plays out. And hopefully it will be a very wet winter here in California. We'll continue to watch that, of course. All right, folks. Let's see. Anything major going on for the seismographs? Look pretty quiet for now. A little spike there on the Hot Caves Hawaii station. But again, we'll continue to watch this, see how it plays out. Have a good day, folks. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tonight. I think I'm just going to relax today and take it easy. A lot going on yesterday. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.